I'm Douglas Estes, Associate Professor of Religion at New College of Florida.
And I'm Alicia Mercado-Harvey, Assistant Professor of Spanish, Portuguese, and History.
And my name's Ed Wells. I'm an Adjunct Professor of Environmental Studies. This is my first semester at New College.
All right, wonderful. It's great for you to be with us today, Ed. Tell us a little bit about your journey that led you here to New College.
Okay. Well, it starts off, I guess, when I went to college. I got my undergraduate degree from Slippery Rock University in geography and environmental planning. I spent a few months as a planner in New Jersey after that. I realized I wasn't done school, so I came back. I got my master's degree in philosophy at Bowling Green State University, focused in environmental philosophy. They have an applied philosophy program there, so I love that. And I was teaching environmental studies then. That was back in the late 80s. So when I was getting my master's degree, I was looking for what I was going to do next. And the head of the environmental studies department wanted to keep me as a teacher. So he asked me to look for a PhD program at Bowling Green. So I went for American Culture Studies, focused in American environmental history and environmental sociology. Did that. After my PhD, I worked as a land planner in Ohio for a couple years, and then the university hired me back as an instructor. I spent 4 years as an instructor at Bowling Green, and then I got a tenure track position at Wilson College in Pennsylvania, Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, and I loved that. I was there for 24 years. When I started there, it was a women's college, and then they went co-ed about 15 years later. And Wilson is, I think, similar to New College in terms of its size. When I started at Wilson, there were only 200 and some students. They're up to 1,500 now.
Wow.
But I left there because of a serious health issue. I was diagnosed with a brain tumor in 2019. A week later, they evicted it. It was very serious. I was having really bad motor skills problems. So after that, I ended up going back the next semester, teaching one class online. The following semester, I went back in the classroom. That was January of 2020. COVID hit. Midterm shut us down. So we went online after that on Zoom. Everybody switched to Zoom. And but I had a hard time adjusting because of the tumor. My cognitive skills were bad. So I thought I was doing the school of service by retiring, and they granted me an emeritus title, which I'm grateful for. So my wife and I moved to Florida in 2021. Just after a couple months here, I'm like, I'm not ready to stop. I mean, I was pretty young, I think. And so I have a friend who's the chair of a science program at St. Leo University. Mm-hmm. She hired me to teach online and in person. Harrisburg University contacted me to teach for them online, and then University of Tampa hired me to teach in person there. The drive was just too much for me, though, because I live in Welland Park, which is between Venice and Northport, and the drive to St. Leo was close to 2 hours, and about the same for Tampa. So when I found out about the position here, a potential position, I just jumped at that idea, and I contacted Frank Alcock. He hired me, and I love teaching here. So I teach here and at Harrisburg right now.
Great.
That's it. So,
Great.
So you serve our environmental studies program,
yes,
right?
Right.
So could you tell us a little bit, because I know there have been some changes with environmental studies, how is it looking now?
Well, as far as I can tell, I mean, it's great. I have very enthusiastic students. I changed my approach to teaching a great deal over the last year, where I made more problem-based learning, project. We do activities in class. I'll give like a mini lecture in the beginning, 15, 20 minutes. Like tomorrow, I'm going to give, or Friday, a short talk on climate change, but then we're spending an hour and a half on an activity. I'm breaking the class up into 2 teams, and they're going to debate. And they've been doing great at that. Sometimes I have them make like a PowerPoint presentation. Others times, like the other day, they just report it out to one another. We have discussions, but I'm so impressed by how interactive they are. Because so many students I had in the past, they just sit there and want to absorb information on the test, spit it out, and it's over. Where this is I take a lot of credit for in-class activities. So if you're not there and you don't participate, you'll get a low grade. But so far that hasn't been a problem. a couple problems with attendance, but participation has been amazing.
Yeah.
Great.
Really happy. Yes.
While we're very sorry to hear about the events in your life that led you here, we're very happy that you're here with us. So tell us a little bit about your background as far as it relates to the interdisciplinary nature of what you do. I mean, New College, we pride ourselves on having faculty that are interdisciplinary, and you certainly fit that bill.
Yeah, yeah. I'm definitely interdisciplinary in my approach to teaching, scholarship. With a background in geography and environmental planning, I had a background for planning, for being a county land use planner, but then philosophy. I think that helped me greatly for critical thinking. Culture studies gave another perspective on it, and then studying law all those years at the Vermont Law School, which I didn't mention that. I spent 10 summers taking classes at the Vermont Law and Graduate School, and up until a couple of years, they were ranked consistently the #1 environmental law program in the country. So I felt really blessed to be there. They gave me tuition scholarship. The college I taught for, Wilson College, paid for my housing. So I just went up every summer. I audited classes, and I just loved it. And so I taught environmental law for many years now at Wilson College. I taught a law class at Harrisburg University, and next semester I'll be teaching here at New College.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really psyched about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite class that you prefer to teach, or?
I'm not sure about that. I love teaching about, of course, on climate change, environmental law, science, technology, and society, which I was thinking about offering next semester instead of environmental law, but I'd like to offer a course on science, tech, and society. And ever since I started teaching as a grad student, I love teaching intro. Whether it's intro environmental studies here at my last school, it was intro environmental science with a lab, but I've always loved intro, just because I think the students you get in there, they're curious and they haven't made up their minds about issues yet. So I challenge everybody to make their own conclusions, have their own beliefs, but be able to support those beliefs.
Right.
Yeah,
so
which is exactly what a classical liberal arts college is supposed to do, right? It's one of the reasons why we're here. So what would you say, like, let's say that we had a student who is coming in next semester, or maybe the semester that you're going to teach intro. Let's use intro as the example. So they're coming in and they're on the fence about, well, do I really want to take an intro to environmental science? What would be the reason, like the selling point? Why should they take that class?
I think it's very important to take that first, actually, because in that class we get into a little of everything. We get into some social science, politics, economics. We get into ethics. We get into science. So by taking a class like that, they can decide if they want to focus in environmental studies, what area. Is it environmental law? I set up articulation agreements with different law schools when I was at my last college, and at University of Tampa, I set one up for them as well. But is it science? You have a great marine mammal science program here, so that'd be a great feeder program for students interested in that. So I think there's tremendous opportunities here. And in the intro class, they just get a taste of everything, So that's why I love teaching intro.
Great.
Yeah. No, and it sounds like what you were describing before with the debates, we were specifically talking about climate change. I find that fascinating because I was just reading an article on Forbes, about the 5 skills that universities should be teaching to students today because of AI.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, yes.
And one of the things that they're talking about is debates.
Right.
That this is because this really feeds the critical thinking skills.
That's
so
right.
that sounds like what you're doing. That is exactly what we should be doing in a liberal arts school.
Right.
Like
and
New College.
and the debate I'm planning for Friday isn't whether climate change is happening or not. We have the science, but what we should do in response to it. Should we focus on adapting to it, or mitigating it? And the debate will be on that issue. And I basically half the class on one side, half on the other side, and a couple students I'm choosing to lead for questions and answers. And then they'll make a panel discussion about what their strengths and weaknesses of each side were. So I'm really excited about Friday's class, actually.
So I would like to ask you a little bit about, how do you think that what you're doing right now will contribute, what you were discussing before, will contribute to several programs? Because it sounds like you're not only contributing to environmental science, but you also, but you also have other programs.
Sure, right,
So,
I would love to be involved in some type of philosophy course, intro philosophy, environmental philosophy. I took a lot of existentialism, sociology, history. My background is very broad, so I feel like I'm qualified to teach a lot of intro type courses. Environmental sociology, I taught that for years, where I love that class because I would have the students, it would be a small class, about 10 or 15 students, but we would do service learning projects every semester. So like in the community I lived in had an Elm Street program for low income households, and my students would put on like health fairs for kids. And they'd have, the police department, fire department come in, give talks, but the students would set up these health fairs, and they felt so empowered that they're doing good for the community. They're not just writing a paper on some topic, which I'll read and grade and throw away. They're doing something that makes an impact on the community. So I love that, the environmental social stuff we did. We did stuff like ecological restoration in sociology because we work for a local park district,
Fantastic.
So, so it's like all of the above we look at, I mean, hands-on work, research.
Speaking of, what are you doing currently in terms of research? What are you working on?
To be honest, right now, for the last couple of years, I haven't done much research. My research has been more in teaching and new teaching methods, which I'm really happy with the way I've altered that. Earlier on, I did a lot of work with textbook companies, writing teaching manuals, lab manuals. I assembled groups of people that I used to grade AP exams with, and we wrote a couple lab manuals. I did research at my last school with the USDA looking at waterborne pathogens and vegetation on crops. So we had a partnership with USDA for years, and we had it up until the time I left, and then it went away. So that was involved in science research, which I'm not a scientist, but I loved digging into that. I mean, science, I feel like science is almost my passion now, even though my degrees are all in liberal arts fields. So my first real publication was an encyclopedic dictionary on the history of environmentalism in North America. And I co-wrote that with a friend of mine from St. Lawrence University. I was just starting my career out. He was ending his, so he made me the lead author on the book. So I was grateful for him. So a book was called The Historical Dictionary of North American Environmentalism. I don't think many people read it, but for me it was great because I got to learn how to publish,
Right.
And I've done a few publications on ecological restoration projects my classes have done. So they were published in some journals. The lead editor of Restoration Management Notes was a very popular journal. He came to my school when I taught at Bowling Green, and he co-led a workshop on ecological restoration with me, a week-long workshop. So I was like, incredible opportunities. So, that's sort of my publishing background.
Great.
Great.
Yeah.
You're a professor emeritus, so I mean, you can rest on your laurels.
Oh, I don't want to
Right.
do that. Probably because of that health challenge I had.
Yeah.
I don't want to rest my laurels at all. I just want to go more and more
Okay.
and more.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
great.
I felt differently before.
Sure.
But after the surgery, I was like, no, I'm not done.
Yeah.
And I just feel really excited, actually.
Good. So why should a student come to New College then to study with you and environmental science?
Well, I guess my couple of reactions I would have is, first of all, it's a small school here, so you can't hide at New College. If they're not in class, I know who they are. By the end of the first week, I know everybody in class who they are. So that's an advantage and a disadvantage for students, I guess. But I think if you come here, you're actively involved in your education. I know you can design your own programs of study here, which I think is fantastic. You're not limited to biology or English, or you can bring programs together. So I think what they would get is instead of memorizing facts and spitting them out on exams, they would be learning in class. So makes them think on their feet, be able to solve environmental problems, other social problems, and they recognize the challenge of solving environmental problems,
Right.
because it's not just pure science.
Yes.
So that's what I love about
Yeah,
teaching, and I think students will get a lot out of that here. And for next semester, the environmental law class, I'm already speaking with the Florida Department of Health about doing a service project for them. And
Great.
I'm working with a guy there, and hopefully design a project for my students to do next semester. Because like I said, they feel more empowered when they're actually doing things that are more than for just a grade,
Right, and we don't have grades
And
here,
you don't-
so
yeah, I like
yes,
that.
Right,
yeah,
right.
we don't. So I
Yeah.
mean, they get these evaluations that are so much more meaningful.
They are. I
Yes,
know.
than a
It's
number
The very
or a
first time
letter.
I've ever done it was this semester, and I love just being able to type comments about strengths and weaknesses, and complimenting students on that. So I was a little unsure about it first because I've never heard of not giving grades, but it makes a lot of sense. I mean, so far I'm a fan of it for sure, no doubt.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it really addresses head on some of the challenges in higher academia with grade inflation, as we've seen over the last couple of weeks. What's going on at Harvard?
Yeah.
It's
Everywhere.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's of course it
Everywhere.
is everywhere. That's right.
Yeah,
that's
we
right.
don't have to worry about that.
That's right.
Right,
And
right.
and the students can focus on learning and engagement and other issues without having to worry as much about grades.
Right.
So yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it sounds like, in environmental studies, you are doing the right things in terms of critical thinking, which we were talking before.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all these things that are hands-on that, you put in practice what you're learning in theory. It's so valuable
Right,
for students. I think particularly today,
Mhm,
with
sure.
all the challenges, like I said, with AI, this is
Right.
the kind of things that really, their critical thinking, it's like those wheels are moving. And,
Yeah, right, right.
feel like we all are doing this kind of things at New College. So.
Right, because they have to develop arguments. They have to support their own perspective, challenge one another. I love that.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, how is AI affecting your field or your teaching or your students?
Well, I'll tell you, when I was first introduced to it a few years ago, my brother, who's a big technology person, he showed me AI, and I was blown away. But I was like, that's going to destroy education. And in some ways it has, because one of the schools I taught for, I stopped teaching at because it was asynchronous course, so the students worked alone, and they took quizzes. They could look up any answer on AI.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel that was an effective way to teach, so I stopped teaching that class at school. But I see AI helping, because like these activities I talk about, I have ideas that I want them to learn this, and I use a little AI to help me, And I'll say, I have 15 students. I want them to study issues. What are the biggest environmental health threats in Sarasota? So they could do that, and we have classes on that. So I love it because the students are also teaching one another, because they'll do research. I usually give like 20 minutes for them to work in class doing research, and then we'll have like a discussion, debate, and it's fantastic. My course at Harrisburg the same way, the environmental law course. We're studying like the Harrisburg incinerator, which is a horrible polluted site up there, and they're doing research on that. I mean, so
Yeah.
it's fantastic. So I think AI can be used for good, for sure.
Yeah.
It can be misused too, though.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it can give you a lot of information. The
Right.
question is, what you do with that information.
Right.
Right.
And is the information correct? 'Cause-
That's right. Because a lot of
Yeah.
times it's feeding the wrong information.
Right.
It's happening more and more.
Right. The first time I used it, actually, I looked up a question. I said, is the Tropic of Cancer north or south of Venice, Florida? And it said, it's 86 miles north of Venice, Florida. I'm like, no, that's wrong. It's down near Cuba. So,
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful with AI like that
Yes.
as well. So,
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. So, well, this has been a great conversation.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming. And to our viewers and listeners, if you have any questions, comments, please send us all that in to either email, or you can do it within comments with the YouTube channel. So hopefully we'll see you next week.